When I was approached by Amazfit to test out their T-Rex 3 watch, I was a little skeptical. I've been a pretty solid member of the iOS ecosystem for a few years now. And now that I've been wearing this thing for about a month, I can say unequivocally, it does literally everything better than the watch I was wearing before. I was really grumpy about my lack of battery life on my watch. This thing lasts 27 days. Did you hear what I just said right there? This watch will last 27 days. It connects to iOS. It connects to Android. It has 25 strength training movements and 8 sports movements. It'll track your pickleball games. It'll track your calories as you are wearing it. It's got so many health-related functions, I can't even go into it on this particular ad. But you guys should definitely check out the T-Rex 3 by Amazfit. That is us.amazfit.com, amazfit.com/402p. You get 15% off of your T-Rex 3 by using the promo code 402p. And that, again, is at us.amazfit.com. It is now my favorite sports watch.
My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/campaign to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
Welcome to 4.0 to Pro, the pickleball podcast that focuses on a single shot, tip, or strategy to improve your pickleball game with every single pocket-sized episode. Our goal is to make you better on the court every time you hear our voices.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of 4.0 to Pro, your pocket-sized pickleball podcast, where we teach you a single shot or strategy every single episode. I'm Michael O'Neill here in sunny Long Beach, California. I am joined by newly crowned Senior Pro National Champion Mircea Morariu in Boca Raton, Florida. Hello, sir. What is the view from the top step?
Hello, my friend. I'm happy to be here, and I'm most honored by you taking the time and effort to pronounce my name correctly. So now that is kind of the pinnacle of pickleball for me right now. So thank you for that.
That makes your year. Well, to be fair, your name, it's not like your name is Bob Jones.
Oh, absolutely.
Your name is Mircea Morariu.
I know.
That is a name I've never said. And by the way, no one's ever said it in the history of people. You're the first person to have that name.
Probably not. And if I was offended at people mispronouncing my name, then I'd have a very stressful life. So I'm fortunate enough to be able to get past it. And it's no worries at all to anyone that meets me. I'm just, happy that they know that I have a little bit of a different name, and that's all I need. I'm all good.
That's like me being mad if they spell my name wrong at hotels, which they do 100% of the time. So it's apostrophe, no apostrophe, EAL, EIL, EILL, like just you name all the different variations. But here's the deal, Mircea. This show, as constructed, is about a single shot or strategy so people can get better at pickleball. My vision was always they put the show on, They leave their house, and by the time they get to the pickleball courts, they're a better player. However, we have a very unique situation happening right now. Whereas you were in Mesa, Arizona, you, yes, along with Dave Weinbach, went through the gauntlet, and you ended up being the Senior Pro Men's Doubles National Champion. And I thought, that's a pretty unique situation here on this show. And I thought, and I'm surprising you with this, by the way, you guys, he doesn't know what I'm going to talk about or what we're doing.
I do not. This is correct.
But I thought it would be cool for everybody to be taken through your weekend, or at least through that prep leading up to that Friday, and then kind of what your mindset was, what some of the things you had to battle. I know you had a lot of really close matches, and there's a lot of mindset stuff because for most of us, our first tournament feels like probably as much pressure as you had in that, national champion. It's crazy. You don't know this, but my very first tournament, I faulted on my serve in 2 matches 27 times.
Oh my goodness.
That's a true story. I could not hit the square with the ball. It was like, talk about the yips. It was so crazy because I think if you guys have never played a tournament before, the situation is like everything feels more intense and you can get really, really nervous, and it's something that people don't talk about too much. So I thought it would be cool for you to kind of take us through the prep and the mindset and some of the carryings on through the weekend. So why don't we start there? Like, what was your week leading up to the Friday?
I actually had a little bit of a tough week because I had injured my wrist during my non-pickleball related workout. So I had to kind of manage my time on the court. I was actually also trying out a new paddle, which I actually really, really liked. But so I needed some time to play with that paddle. It was the Pickleball Apes, the Pulse S. So I needed some time to play with that paddle, yet I couldn't overdo it. So I had to actually quit one of the games that I was playing in because my wrist was hurting so much.
Can you repeat the name of that paddle company and the paddle? I've never heard of either one of those things. You said it was Pickleball Apes?
Yes, Pickleball Apes, and it's the Pulse series, and it's the S version, which is the hybrid version. So it's the middle one. There's an elongated one, a standard shape one, and then a hybrid shaped one. I think they've been out for a few years. A friend of mine, Ivan, who I knew from when I was with Electrum, branched out, and he's one of the principals in the company, and I've been friends with him, and we've talked a lot about paddles. He's very interested in developing paddle technology. So anyway, they, I was fortunate enough to get one of them and tried it out, and I really enjoyed it. So I had to spend some time playing with it, and I had also had to, manage my injury a little bit. I'm not used to injuries. I've been fortunate enough to not have very many. And, as we get older, that's one of the things that we really need to do is manage our bodies a little bit better. So I had to listen to my body, despite the fact that I'm very stubborn and I usually try to push through. So that was kind of my prep week. I did play some and I did drill some, a little bit less than I normally did. But, that was kind of my mindset, is just basically to try to be as healthy as possible when I got to Arizona. So that was really the first key that I had to focus on.
Now, one thing I'm very surprised to hear at all is that you changed paddles a couple of days before this big championship weekend. Do you find that you're able to adapt? And in fact, you did it when you were here in Newport. You played with one of my carbons just for the weekend. Do you find that you're able to quickly adapt to paddles? Because feels like it takes me weeks and sometimes months, especially if it's like a way more powerful type paddle.
It depends on the kind of paddle. I've been trying out numerous paddles. There's been so much advancement with paddle technology that the companies are really doing a great job trying to keep up. And so there's been a slew of new paddles, particularly lately. It seems like just before the holiday season, they try to time it where they can jump out with some new paddles. But I tried actually one of the Pickleball Apes prototypes in New York and really, really enjoyed that. And that was actually not the one that they ended up coming out with. So that one's a little bit on hold, the one that I really liked the most. And, I really enjoyed the carbon one. But it's interesting, like there's so many factors. There's the ball, the environment. Arizona, the ball tends to fly a little bit more. Fortunately, we're playing with a Franklin. I think it would be much more difficult with the Dura Fast 40 out there. So there's just a lot of things to keep in mind. And this paddle is a little bit softer in terms of the feel, but yet it still has quite a bit of power and pop. So I was able to adapt to it pretty well. And I really enjoyed the feel of it. So, bottom line, whatever individual paddle that you choose is really based on your own skill set and feel and what you gravitate toward. So it's really hard to recommend a general paddle for everyone. It depends on your level of skill and also your game. I feel like I don't need something that generates a ton of power. I feel I can generate some power with my technique, but I definitely need some to keep up in this current paddle environment for sure.
So you were playing with Dave Weinbach, who is really one of the OGs, one of the top guys.
Legend.
Real legend, senior pro pickleball. You've played with him a bunch over the years, so you guys are used to each other's game. You are a very methodical and cerebral player. So you're really looking for different advantages and patterns and things like that versus someone who might just come out and be really dynamic and be able to adapt really quickly because they have so much power, or someone who plays a slow game or whatever. Like, you're very good at recognizing some patterns and talking about them, which is what has been so great about your contribution to the pod here. How does Dave play to either complement or supplement your cerebral nature?
Even before he was playing senior pro, he had success on the Open Pro scene. This was before I started playing, really. So it's really quite an honor to be able to play with him, number one. And number two, we've had the good fortune to play several tournaments before, so we've played together, so that obviously makes a difference. But the other kind of interesting thing is we've played against each other so many times that we know each other's games very well, so we know, generally speaking, what the other player is going to do, which is really a tremendous advantage when you have a partner. So he's a little bit more, I don't want to say instinctive, but I'm a little bit more of a planner in terms of patterns and how we set things up. And he has some very specific patterns that he generates on his own that I know he's going to do. And while I might not choose that particular pattern, I know what he's going to do. So I know where I need to be. Like, for example, when he's speeding up off the bounce, like if he has a fluffy forehand in the middle, like I know generally where he's going. So we'll talk about certain targets, things to avoid, things to like someone else's backhand or forehand, or certain shots that the opponents have that we try not to give them. But in terms of attacking, both of us felt that we had some advantage in terms of our hand speed between the two of us. So both of us kind of had a green light when we got a fluffy ball that we were going to be able to attack. And it's more of a statistical thing that we feel that we have a slight advantage over some of the other teams in terms of being able to attack and then counter. But this is a slim margin because all the players really have good hands now, especially the higher levels. And with the paddle technology, they're able to counter really hard.
I have two questions. Number one, about the nerves. If you had any nerves going into it that you maybe don't normally have with a regular tournament. The other part is you've just played with Dane. You've played against Dave a ton of times. Do you tell each other a little bit of your scouting report on each other so they know how they're going to be attacked? Does that make sense? Like, would you say to Dane, when we played against you, I always noticed that X, Y, Z, so let's watch out for that. And that, like, you're sort of coaching each other a little bit. Like, can you put your egos aside and just say, this is a bit of a weakness that we would attack if I was playing against you? That kind of thing?
No, absolutely. Okay. Yeah. I mean, and there was a pattern that when we played against Dave, Dane and I talked about, and Dane would attack a specific spot. And I told Dave about it. I was like, hey, you really need to cover this when Dane gets a fluffy ball. So really needed him to cover middle. Yes, you definitely use that. And at this level and how long we've been playing and with the experience that we've played each other so many times that we kind of all know our games. So it's not like really any magic or secret potion that we had or secret strategy that won us the matches, but it was really the execution. We all know our strengths, and some people have more weaknesses than others, but at the higher levels, when you're playing the semis and the finals, I mean, and even the quarters, we played Chris Headings and Dave Furman. I mean, they've won a bunch of pro tournaments, and I mean, they're really good players. Even first round, we played Morgan Shepherd and Vince Van Patten. We won the first game 12-10. So it was probably one of our tougher games because they had a first round and we had a bye. And so that was actually the match that, I don't want to say I was nervous, but it was the match that was probably the toughest because Dave had never played them. I was fortunate enough to have played them before, including multiple rec games, but I knew they had great skill. In the first game, they were driving the ball really hard. I mean, they had like 3 lead cords that went over our paddles and they won points. I mean, everyone is good at this level, especially nowadays. It used to have 1 or 2 relatively easy matches to kind of warm up with. And that's really not the case anymore. I mean, there were some really, really tough first round matches in that draw. It was the best senior pro draw that both Dave and I had ever seen. I mean, it was kind of mutually agreed upon by the players that it was the highest quality in terms of the players and the teams that were there.
This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. You know, one of my favorite quotes is, you are the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. But something that impacted me hugely was listening to a speaker on stage say, but guess what? You are one of the 5. Our internal dialogue can be really, really critical, and it's very difficult to show gratitude to yourself, even though you're doing great in the world. Sometimes you'd never know it by the internal dialogue we say to ourselves. That's where therapy can help. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Let the gratitude flow with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/402p today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/402p. You know, guys, between 402p, my regular podcast, my vintage Porsche restoration YouTube channel, playing pickleball, actually restoring the Porsches, I don't have a ton of time, and I don't have a ton of bandwidth to think about dinner. That's where HelloFresh comes in. I get farm-fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to my door. And think about it. The holiday season's just around the corner. We are all looking for ways to spend and stress less. HelloFresh makes mealtime nearly hassle-free with delicious home-delivered, chef-crafted recipes that come together quick and are less expensive than takeout. The other part is I'll buy some lettuce for a recipe of some sort, and I'll use that lettuce like one time, and it sits in my fridge until I throw the lettuce away and buy the new thing of lettuce. HelloFresh allows me to step out of my recipe rut and make fun, flavorful meals without needing to hunt for specialty ingredients. And HelloFresh's pre-portioned ingredients mean less food waste, which means that lettuce is not going to go bad in my refrigerator. You can get 10 free meals at HelloFresh.com/free402p. Applied across 7 boxes, new subscribers only, varies by plan. That's 10 free HelloFresh meals. Just go to HelloFresh.com/free402p. Do you think that the NPL had anything to do with that? The fact that a lot of this group had been playing together in a different format for the last few months?
Well, sure. That just added to our experience. And it actually added, I think, to our camaraderie and mutual respect, because we were playing with other partners that we didn't necessarily choose. I mean, it's a little different for me because I happened to draft our team. And so one of the players that I drafted was the partner that I played with, Tao Tongban, and I played with him all year. But some of the other teams, the owner drafted or the GM drafted. So they were put together with people that they wouldn't normally play with. And that really enhanced our camaraderie and our mutual respect for each other.
You had a few, I don't want to say nagging, but your wrist was bothering you the week before, and you've got this new paddle. Did you walk into there feeling 100% that you were prepared for what was about to happen? Or were you kind of like, I'm going to make the best of what is happening right now? Like, did your wrist bother you? Were there a few niggles with the paddle that you needed to worry about?
Well, I was close to 100%. My wrist just hurt on certain shots, but it was not anything that I couldn't deal with. So it didn't really bother me that much. I really took to the paddle really easily. That was very helpful. I really felt great in terms of resets and dinks. And really that's really for me, the really kind of the benchmark of a really quality paddle is that I'm able to drop and dink and hit quality resets from the transition zone. But it was definitely a little bit of an adjustment. And I honestly am really fortunate to be able to compete at this level. And I know it sounds maybe a little hokey, but I'm genuinely honored to be able to be out there with players of that caliber and people that I consider friends. So I really look forward to the tournaments for the camaraderie of what we all love about pickleball, being part of a great community, enjoying friendships, competing very, very hard and wanting to win. There's no one that is more competitive than myself or Dave. Everyone is looking to win, but at the same time, we all also enjoy each other's company for the most part, and we have that mutual respect, and it's just really a joy to be there. So the way I look at it when I'm in that mode is honestly, how cool is it that I'm able to play here? How cool is it that I'm playing the national championships? And that's what I think about. That's kind of how I approach it. I don't think like, oh my God, it's the national championships. Like, I got to get the serve in. Because if you feel that way and you approach it that way, you're definitely going to get more tight. So the way I loosen it up for myself is I try to really appreciate the moment. And especially when it's tight. I think we were down 9-8 against Althoff and Dane in the semis. And I was just thinking like, God, it's cool to be out here. Like, it was a beautiful day. I'm playing with a legend on my side of the court. I mean, not really many people get to do that. So I just really try to feel privileged and try to enjoy the moment and do my best. And I did the prep work as best I could. You can control these things. You can control your preparation, you control your attitude, and you control your effort. I was able to do all those things. You know, when win or lose, I did my best. And when I coach other players, when I was coaching the pro players, that was kind of my mantra. You control these three things.
Were there occasions or an occasion you can think of where you were surprised by a team and maybe they had a run on you and it was something that maybe you hadn't accounted for, maybe a certain strategy on their end, like they're shake and baking and they were more methodical players before that. And all of a sudden you're like, wow, we have to adjust to this. Were there any strategic adjustments you had to make during the course of a match where you were kind of behind the eight ball and then it ended up winning for you?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that happened in the semis was that I was mostly dinking cross court with Althoff. And in the first game, we had patterns that were set up for us that were positive. And so we ended up pretty handily. And then Dane started moving over and taking a few more balls in the second game and became a little more aggressive. And that worked out for them a little bit better. So they won the second game. So we had to adjust from that. And I just had to change my spots a little bit more in terms of where to attack with Dane, because I'm directly across from him because Althoff's a lefty. And Dave, my partner, wanted to play on the left. And so I'm comfortable playing both sides. So I stayed mostly on the right. And that was the pattern that he liked. He liked to be right in front of Althoff, directly in front of him, who's a lefty. And so I was fascinated by the chess match because I had to change my spots. And he adjusted when I would go cross body. And so I had to go straight down the line a little bit more. And then I had to go back to cross body and, target his right hip. And so it was fun to be able to suss that out during the match. So that was one thing I had to do. And then in the finals, Rick Witzkin had injured his calf. So he was injured. He wasn't able to move as well. And so they were really trying to shorten the points. So they were attacking very, very frequently. And that was successful for them. We knew that going into the finals. So that was one of the adjustments that we had to make, is that we had to lengthen the points a little bit. We had to make the ball bounce, try to move them around a little bit, try to wait until we get an attackable ball. And it was windy in the finals. It was towards the end of the day. So so the ball was a little hard and moving faster. So we had to adjust to relentless attacks. And in the second game, we were unwinding a bunch of really good drives. And so they ended up winning the second game. And then we were able to counter that a little bit better in the third game and pull it out.
So before you guys think, oh man, you shouldn't have picked on the guy. He was a leg down. This is the finals of a national championship tournament. You're going to take every advantage you can, and you're going to probably try to make him run around as much as humanly possible, maybe including and until lobbing to make him run or something. But it's not like that. Like it's not like a rec game where you would accommodate those kinds of things. You would definitely try to take advantage of wherever you could. At what point in that series of matches, because you never know what you're going to feel like that particular day, A. B, you never know what the team chemistry is going to be like that particular day. Like, you guys could just be in flow and playing really well together, or sometimes it just feels a little weird and it's not flowing very well. At what point during the course of the day did you think, oh, we could win this thing?
Well, honestly, we went into it feeling like we could win it. I just felt that way the entire day. I mean, I got to be honest, and it wasn't overconfidence or cocky. It was just the confidence that I had done the work over the last several years to try to get better. I felt comfortable with my game in general. I felt I had the experience, and both Dave and I just felt that if we played our game and we were able to execute, that we would come out on top in every match. And that's kind of how we approached it.
Do you think there's any replacement for entering tournaments at any level, no matter what, if you're 4-0 to pro, just getting game reps in and getting some, it's hard, I described it at the beginning of the show. It's very strange when you're in your first tournament, your first few tournaments, and now you're being asked to serve. And you think, why didn't anybody tell me what nerves feel like until now? Why is this different than every other time of the hundreds of rec games I've played? Why does this one feel so much different? Because there's butterflies and nerves and things like that. I just don't know that there's any way to replace that other than actually getting into some tournaments.
No, I really don't think that there is. And if you truly want to elevate your game, I really think you need to play tournaments. And they have different formats in tournaments, but the gist is still the same. You're playing multiple different teams, and you have to figure out what patterns work for you and what's not working. So you have to evolve. And the farther you go along in the draw, the better the quality of the teams. And what worked first or second round typically won't work third or fourth round or in the semis or the finals. So
the margins are getting narrower and narrower as you go.
Absolutely. Your margin for error definitely shrinks. So you need to dink more consistently. You need to get up to the kitchen more consistently. And that's really the evolution of going from 4.0 to pro, is really learning how to adapt and change and how to do so consistently and with intent.
What can somebody take away? Someone who maybe has limited tournament experience or no tournament experience, what can they learn from your 2024 championship run?
Well, first of all, you really need to get out there. And it's kind of just piggybacking on the last question, that you really need to test yourself and start playing tournaments. And I think important takeaways are that you need to prepare and have confidence in your game and understand your game and what your strengths and weaknesses are. I think you need to pick a partner that you really gel with and you understand what their strengths and weaknesses are. You need to be able to communicate with your partner, and those are the basics. And then when you get out there, if you're trying your best, you have a good attitude, both with yourself and your partner, because that's really important. You have to have a good attitude with yourself, because if you're going out there and telling yourself, God, I suck, or I suck today, or I'm not playing well, that's really not constructive. It's not going to help you, and it's not going to help your partner. Your partner is also going to feel that. I didn't play a perfect match. There were times and stretches where we struggled a little bit and had to come back, but we kept our attitude, kept our effort, and we talked about how we're going to adjust. So that was really, really key. So those are the things that you want to keep in mind when you're playing tournaments. If you're doing your best and your attitude is good and you've prepared, you've won 90% plus of the battle. And if you approach that consistently, you will get the experience by playing more and more and getting to higher and higher levels of competition. You will advance and you will get better. So enjoy the competition, enjoy the moment, time out there, and do your best and have a great attitude, and you're going to be a winner. I mean, if you do it consistently, you're going to win more and more.
Well, we all are high-fiving you from all over the world here on this podcast.
Thank you so much.
It's a huge accomplishment to do, especially because I know over the last few years, the senior pro division keeps getting better and better. We have these people that were mid-40s and open pro players that are now at the senior level, and now they're senior pro players. And it's going to get even higher level in the next few years as some of these people that are in the open pro that we all know their names will eventually be in this senior pro bracket. And you're going to really see this level keep going up and up. So it's such a huge accomplishment. It's hopefully you got a nice medal or a nice trophy to stick on your wall, and you can wear this title at least for the next year, and hopefully next year you get a chance to defend it.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, I'm looking forward to doing that next year. So one tournament at a time, one match at a time.
Well, guys, you have now just listened to a very impromptu interview of senior pro national champion Mircea Morariu. And thank you once again, as always, for listening to the show. And Mircea, thank you for donating your time to this show and helping us get on that bridge from 4.0 to pro, because you're doing the deal, man. You're the real deal. So thanks for all that.
Thanks a lot, man. I really, really appreciate it. Really kind words.
Folks, as always, if you'd like a new pickleball paddle, and who wouldn't, right? carbonpickleball.com, CRBN pickleball.com. If you use the promo code 402P at checkout, you get 10% off of your order. They also have some brand new glasses that I do not have my hands on yet, but they're not quite the goggles that came out, but they're these kind of cool, funky, I don't know. You could take like Ray-Bans and, outfielders glasses, and they had a baby. This is kind of what they look like. So
those look cool.
We will report back once we get it. You saw them?
Yeah, I've seen them, but I haven't had a chance to try them, but they look cool.
Well, we'll get some sent down to you as well. Folks, go out and have some fun on the pickleball courts. I hope you took a couple of nuggets from this show, and you can use it to go out there and win tournaments of your own. We'll talk to you next time.
Thank you for listening to 4.0 to Pro. For more tips, find us on Instagram at 4.0 to Pro. If you have a pickleball question, submit it at picklehelp.com. Now, get out there and dominate. But don't forget to have fun.